So the way to use this mortar, you gotta kind of hang back, huh?
Bro, the last fight, these dudes, I was like face tanking them, and they were like doing it and dodge rolling and like using it like right in my face. It was like retarded.
I guess I'm gonna have to do the same thing.
It's fucking stupid. I'm so tired of stupid skills like that. I just want to shoot.
Neutralize all enemies before you run out of them.
It's fast. Down.
Hey, come on, flank persevere.
Damn.
Nice.
An agent needs assistance.
Oh my god.
Boost now active.
Down.
Behind us. Behind us right here.
Signs critical.
Got him.
Stuff,
Got him.
dude.
He's down.
Agent out of action.
Pick me up.
Coming.
He was down.
Oh, it's the guy that.
They about to come like crazy.
Yeah.
Ooh, that mortar, baby. Got you. Oh my god, bro, this mortar is freaking crazy.
Agent
Terrible.
Oh, stop shooting me. You gotta stop shooting me. You're done. You're done. Alright, I got your back now. Hold on.
Agent down.
Two. All four of us were fucking with.
Hey YouTube, it's Be Righteous from Identity. Another week is upon us, so you know what time it is, right? Another build video. I am really hyped about what I saw in the state of the game on Wednesday, and it had me way more hopeful for the future of this game. If you want to check out my recap on that, I'll leave it in the description below. Anyways, TU7 isn't coming out for maybe another 3 months, so until then, let's get back to business. A few months back, I made a build called the Liberty Technician. This build had great subscriber feedback and so many of you loved that build. So I decided to make another build which also includes the Liberty Exotic Pistol, and I hope you like it. If it's your first time here and you're interested in builds from DPS all the way to skill, then please drop a like and hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. The Liberty Engineer is a build that brings death from above. A combat engineer with the capability to control the map so much so that you feel as though there's nowhere to go. This is one of those builds that I must say is in that above average category of synergy driven playstyles. A framework that by default makes it a strong contender. Very hard to penetrate its defenses if played right. The purpose of this build is to use crowd control in order to dominate the map as you see fit. Because whether you're on defense or offense, it doesn't matter. You either become a fortress or someone who brings a fortress to its knees. This build works exceptionally well in PvE also, and it's actually kinda overwhelming. Hopefully you enjoy this, but I will say that it's a bit more difficult to use than some of your other typical skills. Takes some getting used to, at least in PvP. So let's not waste any more time and let me show you what I got. I have for you an explosive build that has great synergy. I really love the synergy in this build, and you're going to see why in a minute. The specialization I'm using is a demolitionist. Depending on the build, you're going to want to go demolitionist for most of your explosive builds. Sometimes you want to go technician, but that extra 40% is what you need. These two weapons I'm only using for the holster talents, recharged and rooted. Recharged gives you extra charges while you're at full armor, 25%. And for perfectly rooted, I have the send off, and that gives you 30% extra skill damage while you're in cover. The main weapon I'm using is the Liberty pistol, and this is where a lot of the synergy of this comes in. Great exotic pistol, and one of my favorite exotics. You gain 100% damage to hostile electronics. So any skill that you see, 100% extra damage to it. Turrets, secret mines, whatever. The talent on here is called Blind Justice, and after you destroy that weak point, and if you kill a person with that bullet, then your whole magazine is refilled and it grants 100% weapon damage. Great talent. And if you do decide to use any of those weapons like the rail splitter or the send off, the holster talent is great because it gives you 20% of your ammo back when you destroy weak points and armor. So this is just a great weapon overall. So the build, okay, this build is great for PvE and PvP. I mean, it's interchangeable, and with explosive builds, damage to elites isn't really as necessary as it would be if you're using a weapon, but I still have damage to elites. So on the mask it's China Light for the 10% extra explosive damage, and I have 48% damage to elites and skill power plus hard hitting. You don't really need anything else on this mask because the explosive damage is going to do most of the work whether you're in PvP or PvE. I have an RNK chest piece with weapon damage, armor, and skill power, and payload. Payload, one of the best talents you can run on an explosive build. Alright, 50% extra explosive damage when you destroy an enemy's asset. This is what I was talking about. The Liberty pistol does 100% extra damage to assets. So if somebody throws a hive on the ground, you shoot the hive, you destroy that hive, boom, you get an extra 50% damage to your explosives. Now I'm going to get to why that's so good in this build when I get to the skills, so just stay tuned. For my holster, I have an Alp Summit, once again one of the best holsters in the game, almost 800 skill power and devastating for some more weapon damage. Backpack, you want to use 2-piece Alps because Alps is great for skill builds. It gives you 20% skill haste and 10% skill power, and you want the skill haste for like your secret mines or whatever skill you're using. Skill haste is always good, so Alp Summit is perfect for that. 608 skill power, 25,000 armor, tech support, and hardened. Okay, tech support is a great talent for explosive builds. This was changed a bit, I think, because before the patch it didn't have explosives on here. It just said kills by active skills grants 25% skill damage. So after the patch, then this right here just made it so that you need to run this with explosive builds. And hardened just to increase the armor that I have on this build. 608 skill power is a lot for a backpack, so being that this is not a technician specialization, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to reach 3000 skill power. So the more skill power you get on your backpack, the better. BTSU gloves. I talked about these gloves so much before. I'm sure you already know what these gloves do. The more yellows you have on your build, the more damage you do with your skills when they're active. So I have a 4-4-10. I think this is a great composition right here. 4-4-10. 100% extra skill damage when these gloves are active. Now the damage stack potential in this build is crazy. Okay, for the knee pads I'm using RNK, and you want a 2-piece RNK so you can have that 20% pistol damage. You need that whenever you're using any type of pistol build. I rolled armor on here, and the armor on this build is pretty decent considering I have 3000 skill power, 325k armor. Is really good. And the Liberty pistol is hitting for like what, 100 and something K? Let me see. Yeah, Liberty pistol's hit for 101. That's really good for a pistol. So for my explosive, I have destructive on here, which gives you 40% extra explosive damage. So on this build, I have maximum explosive damage, pretty much maximum damage to elites, and also the Liberty pistol's attachments has 15% damage to elites. that's a lot just for an attachment. So that gives you an extra 15% damage to release to your build. This thing destroys NPCs, man. Like, destroys them. It's crazy. All right, for the skills, the synergy continues. The synergy continues, man. I normally like going with the Bleed Seeker Mine, okay? Because it's just really strong in PvP. It makes them bleed. It can one-shot people. It's really strong. But I decided to go with these clusters just to cause a little bit more chaos. And by default, the Bleed Seeker Mine does more damage, okay? It does almost 200k damage in PvP. The clusters do 100k, a little bit over 100k. And the mods that I have on it are 2 skill haste mods. I could get it higher, but I wanted to have it on a 10-second cooldown so I could just spam these, right? So what I'm relying on more so is the BTSU gloves to activate and make these 100% stronger. So it's going to be hitting for 200k, just like the Bleed Seeker Mine, but it's just not gonna cause a status effect, right? So I'm running it with the mortar, and this is what I was talking about when I said it has insane crowd control. I've been playing with this lately, and I've been noticing that in conflict and in the DZ it's been very popular. It's been popping up everywhere, and it's very hard to fight against this. What you want is extra mortar ammo, blast radius, and damage. Okay, now the reason why this is so hard to penetrate, right, is because this mortar blast radius, 50% extra radius. Look at the difference between the radius with it and without it. This can cover a whole objective in conflict on domination. It covers the whole objective. So you can just set up and be a fortress where nobody can get anywhere. You can just control the map. You just have to have teammates that can help you out and call out flanks and make sure nobody gets close. You know what I mean? And you could just zone with this thing. This thing is amazing, and it causes you to bleed. That's where I'm getting my BTSU gloves to activate. And that's why I said the synergy is so good, because let's say I pull out my Liberty pistol, and this has happened before. Check this out. I shot somebody's hive that was on the ground. I destroyed it in like 3 shots, and then somebody's coming down the stairs on the left. Payload's active. I launch my mortar at him on the steps. He's instantly dead. Then once the mortar hits him, my BTSU gloves are active, so I'm dropping my seeker mines, and they're just going around wherever, hitting people for 200k and finishing them off also if they're already down. This build synergy is crazy good, and if you play it right, you can deal massive damage from so many areas. But like I said, this has a little bit more of a high skill gap, and so, you know, positioning of the mortar, where you drop it, and you could hit yourself a lot with this mortar and its radius, so you have to be careful with it. With that being said, it takes a little bit of practice, so don't get discouraged if you use it and you know, fail at first, because this is one of those skills that takes a little bit more attention to detail. I'm gonna be honest with you though, when I first started to make this build, I was thinking it was a very good idea, you know, and I was talking to somebody in my clan, Jet Rings, and he brought it up. He was telling me about it. He was like, well, what about doing this with payload and Liberty pistol? And it's crazy, because I was actually thinking about making a build like that, and so we collaborated on it, and I came up with this. So when I initially started to talk about this build, I felt like it was just a nice, genuine build. I mean, I made one of these builds with the mortar in TU5, and it was great. I was using it in heroic gameplay, but I just this build is kind of cheesy, you know. The mortar is kind of cheesy, I have to say. You know, if you don't have explosive resistance, it's very hard to deal with, and you go into conflict, and sometimes you have 2-3 people using this at the same time, just launching it and just causing chaos everywhere. So it's one of those skills that might be in the cheese category, but I didn't realize that until later, until after I made the build, till after I made my thumbnail. But if you're one who likes to play PvE, it's great for this. Great support mechanic. And one important thing about it in PvE is that when I'm using the chem launcher on NPCs and I launch it, one problem I encounter is they always jump out of the way before I can ignite it. The radius is so huge on this mortar, they can't do anything. There's no way, there's no escape with this. It's overwhelming. So Try to build out. It's a very good crowd control mechanic. If you can get good with this, you'll be a problem for people, straight up. So let me know down in the comments what you think about this build. Try it out. And you know, somebody had already asked me, is this build going to be viable for the next patch? I don't know if it's going to be viable, but I know they're doing an overhaul on all the talents, but they didn't say anything about them doing an overhaul on skills. So it could be viable because the mortar might be the same, it might not. So we're just gonna have to see. I do have a build that I'm thinking about that might be viable for next patch that I'm gonna try out. So stay tuned for that. I'm gonna drop that in a couple weeks. And that's it for this build video. Let me know what you think, like I said, down in the comments. Be right out.